Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the new horror movie that's currently out in theaters 28 years later. The more that I've learned about this movie behind the scenes, the more I have been slightly ticked off. Let's talk about it, shall we?
Modern Movie Review.
Alright, so right off the bat, before I get too far into some of the negatives and some of the nitpicky things that I want to talk about, we are going to go ahead and point out some of the good things about this movie. For one, the young actor, Alfie Williams, absolutely incredible in this. I believe this is his first ever role, and he's phenomenal in this. And I think that overall, when you have a movie like this where the main character is somebody that's played, you know, as like a 12-year-old or whatever, that's scary. You really have to have a lot of faith in that young actor to really carry a strong performance, and he does. He brings a lot of emotional gravitas to this, and for the most part, he does a really good job of balancing the having a lot of confidence, but also you can tell that this kid is faking it till he makes it, because what the hell is he doing right now? I love it. I think that his performance in this is absolutely phenomenal. Ralph Fiennes, I think that he also is incredible in this. My man, I'm really upset he did not win an Oscar last year, but that being said, his performance in this is absolutely fantastic. He's only in the movie for about 10-15 minutes, but he's stellar when he is. He brings a lot of emotional weight to him as well, and I think that he does a really good job of kind of showcasing some of the better parts of humanity, and one of the sides of humanity that if we are in a post-apocalyptic world one day, I would hope somebody is doing the kind of things that he's doing. And overall, I think that the horror elements in this film are fantastic. They do a lot of really interesting kind of cutaway shots, so there will be sequences where we're following along with Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Alfie Williams as they're going around in the woods and they're hearing these little sounds in the background, and then it will show like a shot that's completely like night vision in red where we're seeing the infected and seeing things from their point of view. And I really like the way that it's just like really disorienting, because for the most part, obviously you're in the middle of the woods, you don't really know what's surrounding you, you're trying your best to like really stay focused on your surroundings, but at the end of the day, there are zombies, there's infected creatures all around you, there is a lot of unpredictability, and so for this film to really chime in on that with the editing was really beautiful. I do think that overall, visually, this film is fantastic. I think the direction is great, the cinematography is great, the editing is fantastic, the visual effects, any post-production that they did for this film is incredible. I think that the sound design is awesome. The speech that they use for the trailer, the boots, 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 when they use that in the actual movie, incredibly tense, incredibly terrifying. The score all throughout this film is literally phenomenal. So overall, on all technical levels, fantastic. Now we get into the plot, which I think is a little bit more interesting. This film is not what you'd expect it to be, so I'm going to go ahead and issue a spoiler warning from here on out in this review. If you haven't seen it, maybe go watch the movie and come back, and I will gladly kind of give you guys this full review. But that being said, I just wanted to issue that. But now, to get into this film, the trailer for this movie really sells this movie on Aaron Taylor-Johnson teaching his boy how to become a man, taking him into this mainland and teaching him how to hunt, teaching him how to survive in the wilderness and how to kind of deal with these infected creatures. And I really love the way that they are able to make this film kind of seem like it's going to be like a father-son dynamic. And then they go on their initial trip. We learn enough of the backstory between these two characters. We understand the fact that the infecteds are all over the mainland. We learn some of the like key things, like the fact that there's alphas and they're the strongest, and then there's like the slow ones that are on the ground and they're the ones that are crawling around, and they really are not a threat whatsoever. You just need to know that they're there. And I really like the fact that they do a really good job of just quickly on that first mission introducing us to the world of 28 years later. For anybody who hasn't seen 28 days later or 28 weeks later, you have a really good chance of being able to just hop right into this film and fully be able to immerse yourself into it, and I really enjoy that. I think that that's awesome. I think that part of the film going experience nowadays is always ruined because of there being so many sequels that aren't marketed as sequels, and so a lot of times people are like, oh, well, do I need to watch these other movies before I can go see this one? I think that this movie is very much an entry-level movie. You could go into it and you would absolutely have no problems there, and I love that. I think that that's awesome. One thing I do kind of want to talk about while I'm talking about the sequel side of this film, apparently this is the first of 3 movies they're planning on making here, and I do kind of wish that that was marketed at some point, because when I left the movie theater, I took a really long time to do my out-of-theater reaction, which I know is not the point. When you do your out-of-theater reaction, you're supposed to do your thoughts while you're leaving the movie theater. But the ending scene of this movie was so bad that it retroactively made me really dislike almost everything that I enjoyed about this movie. So I actually had to like take back, like, imagine if the movie ended 2 minutes earlier, what would my final thoughts been? So for anybody who does not know this, this movie is a part 1 of a 3-part special, right? And in this first movie, we're kind of setting up the fact that, there's this island, they have a bunch of people that are safe, they have, their systems going where they have like certain people that are the security and kind of like their military, and they're protecting them and watching over the gate. We have the people who are building things, the people who are seamstresses, the people who are, farming for them. And they have their own little culture there that I think is really interesting. And then we learned that they have been like adventuring onto the mainland every once in a while, but because of how much they have done it over the last 15 years, they really have to go far to get stuff, and they don't really have the resources to continue doing that. But overall, that is something that I do really like about this movie, because if you can get into the world building of a film and you get to a movie and you start being like, oh man, I want to know more about this thing, I want to know more about that thing, I want to know more about this thing, that's usually a good sign. But for me personally, now that I know this is a part 1 of 3, I'm a little upset because now those things that I was really curious about, that I'm like, oh my god, what's the answer going to be? I now need to wait over a year to see if they have a solid answer for it. Whereas horror movies tend to benefit from you not knowing certain things. Like, I think that when it comes to like movies like The Strangers, when they'll ask questions where it's like, is Tamara home? And stuff like that, you having no idea who Tamara is absolutely terrifying. And if they were to make a movie where they introduce Tamara, it would absolutely kind of ruin that, because part of the fear is the fear of the unknown, and you having to try to like fill the void and fill the gaps in your own mind kind of makes it a little bit more scary because of that uncertainty. And now I'm a little concerned because all these things that I really liked about this film, they now have a chance to pay it off, and what if they pay it off and they don't really stick the landing? That's concerning to me. Also, on top of that, I feel like if you're making a part 1, you gotta market that as a part 1, because part of the reason why I did not like this ending, and I really had a hard time, and this movie left me with a bad taste in my mouth, is because the ending of this movie, and as somebody who is a diehard superhero fan, I can finally fully understand why people hate Marvel Phase 4 as much as they do. The ending of this movie felt like when you get to the end of a movie and it's like, okay, cool, we're getting a little bit of falling action, and then all of a sudden they introduce a new superhero and he's here now, and everybody's like, oh my god, it's that superhero, he's here now, that's so cool, oh my god, look at these cool things that this superhero did. And then that's the end of the movie, and you're like, wow, that was awesome. And it's like, it leaves you with a completely different idea of what's going on, and it literally like almost feels like a trick to make you think like you just watched something that you didn't just watch. Like, a lot of times in Marvel, when they introduce something like that at the very end of the movie, it's kind of like to hype you up for what's next. And this, I feel like it's almost to try to hype you up for what's next, but also connecting it to the first movie. I mean, the beginning of this movie. And it just does not work for me because, for one, it literally feels like a sequence that is directed by a completely different director. And everything about that is just off-putting to me. And for two, this is now another big question that we're going to have to wait over a year to get the answer to. And I would have just preferred it if they had, like I said, ended this movie about 2 minutes earlier. It would have been the perfect ending to this movie, and I probably would have rated it 5 stars, and I probably would have said it's one of the best movies that has come out this year. But that divisive ending and that risk that they decided to take really did not work on me. I know a couple of people who are like really excited about it and think that like they did a really good job and that it's a cool way to tie back in the beginning of the movie. But now I'm like, you have more questions unanswered that we didn't need to even be asking, because why did you feel the need to include that scene at the end of the movie? It literally just ruined the movie for me. So that being said, to talk about some of the great things of this movie, Jodie Comer is absolutely phenomenal in this film. She's playing a mother who is having a hard time remembering everything that's going on. And the adventure that happens in this movie that you're not expecting is the son, who is 12 years old, he goes on his first mission with his dad. He comes home, they're celebrating, they're partying, and his mother is on his deathbed, and he really does not want to be joining the party. He really just wants to go home to his mother, but he's looking around for his father. He can't find him, and Lord and behold, his father is having an affair. And this kid kind of realizes, oh my god, my father's a really shitty person, and they actually show the father slapping the kid in a later scene. And I'm really happy that they did not try to end this movie by randomly redeeming Aaron Taylor Johnson's character arc, because what happens is the kid kind of like confronts his dad about the fact that he knows he's cheating, and the kid, Aaron Taylor Johnson slaps the kid, and then he runs upstairs, grabs his mom, and he decides, you know what, we're going on to the mainland, because he's heard stories of there being a doctor there, which is Ralph Fiennes' character. And so the mission is to take his mother, who is losing her mind, and get her to this doctor so that he could potentially save her, So it leads to a very interesting movie. I love the kind of adventure premise of it. The kid kind of learning how to defend for himself and also be able to protect his mother is really cool. I think that dynamic works insanely well in this. It leads to a lot of great action sequences. And I think that overall, this is just like a really fun kind of almost adventure movie at this point with a lot of horror elements thrown in there. And obviously, there are some incredible action sequences with the infected, but you also just get to see this journey of this son with his mom who's kind of like losing her mind. And it becomes this journey of, and I really loved last year the movie A Quiet Place Day One because it did something similar. It's like part of the kid knows that even if they make it to the doctor, his mom might not make it. And I think that he's just really enjoying these last couple of days with his mother. And they're just kind of like appreciating life together. They're sharing stories with each other. They're having like a fun little time. And at the end of the movie, the mother ultimately ends up dying. And it's a really emotional thing. And they kind of like flash through some of the different scenes of the mom and son kind of bonding together. And you kind of realize that this is more of like a story telling you to appreciate life and enjoy the time that you have with your loved ones while you have it, because it could be completely limited. And that's not an emotional through line that I was expecting this movie to have. I was expecting this movie to be filled with a lot of monster fighting and a lot of zombie killing and a lot of spooky little horror moments like that. So to almost cry watching this movie was really surprising to me, and I absolutely loved that. I thought that was phenomenal, and I think that this movie just incredibly was like heartbreaking. It was really good. And overall, I think this movie also does a good job of having some comedy sequences in there to kind of balance things out, because obviously with the mom losing her mind, that can lead to some joke opportunities that work relatively well. And they also introduce a character who's a soldier who kind of ends up stranded on this island, and he's from the modern age trying to have conversations with this boy who grew up on an island that doesn't have any modern technology. And there's a lot of disconnect there that's absolutely hilarious. One of my favorite scenes probably in the entire movie. At one point, he pulls out his phone. It's getting ready to die. And the kid's staring at it like, what the hell is that? And he, quickly explains to him, like, it's a cell phone. You can't really do much with it out here. It's basically just going to be a brick once it dies. And he quickly pulls up a picture of his girlfriend and shows it to the kid. And the girlfriend's like this absolutely, beautiful girl who has like a bunch of makeup and stuff done. And the kid goes, what's wrong with her face? Hilarious. Fantastic. That entire scene and the way that it plays out is just hilarious, because like the guy's like trying to explain, like, she's just wearing makeup. It's like a totally normal thing. Everybody wears makeup nowadays. And then the guy's like starts making fun of the fact that like she's doing duck lips in the photos. And he's just like, one of the girls on the island had that because she had an allergic reaction to something. And so when she eats it, her lips go like, and he's just like, the military guy just like gets so fed up with him. It's so funny. Like, this movie has a lot of great laughs in it, a lot of great action sequences in it, some incredible horror sequences in it, and a great emotional through line. And then they ruin it with a weird-ass fucking Power Rangers-ass scene at the end of the movie. Why did they do that? It's a good movie. It's a fantastic movie. I'm trying to erase my brain of the last 2 minutes because it genuinely ruins the movie for me. But that being said, if I had to give this movie a rating, on a scale of 1 to 100 as I typically do, I'm still going to give it a solid 90. It's a great movie. And it ends with a really cool emotional sequence with like the kid kind of realizing that he wants to go off on his own. And he kind of survived this trip with his mother. And now that he's completely by himself, he believes he can fend for himself. And we kind of get to see a little glimpse of that. And it does make me really excited for the next movie. And then he runs into the little kids from the opening of the movie now that they're all grown up. And they're ninjas. And that's something that we now need to discover, how the fuck these guys became ninjas. Fun. It's going to be great. I'm so excited. Yay. But yeah, that being said, sorry to be super negative. I hate when a movie does something like that, because it's something I've given a lot of Marvel movie shit for, is the falling action is very important. When you're doing the, little plot flowchart, I'm going to, try to make it for you. You start off over here, right? This is the exposition. You introduce the characters, you introduce the premise, any little things about like, okay, well, this is, his mother's sick. That's, exposition, right? And then you get to a point where they go to do something, and that's like the rising action, right? So the first initial thing is them going onto the mainland, getting stuck there overnight, right? And then it creates this new journey of this kid now has this newfound bravery that he can go and venture off into the mainland by himself. So that's what they do, right? He takes his mother, they go into the mainland, they're trying to find this doctor. Eventually, he finds the doctor, bam, that's the climax. And now at the end of the movie, there's supposed to be some resolutions. We're supposed to get some of the questions answered throughout the film. We're supposed to see that like everything's going to be okay and where the characters might potentially be going forward. And then they randomly decide to add more exposition. That wasn't supposed to happen. Now the movie didn't end, and it's not satisfying, and that kills me. But yeah, that being said, that's really nitpicky, and I'm sorry. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by, checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Pow. Pow, pow.